Hey, soil mates. Welcome to Men Metal Mayhem, the podcast where the brothers men take a deep dive into the discographies of our favorite metal bands. I'm your host, Brother Paul, joined as ever by my two brothers and co-hosts, Brother John
Yo, yo, yiggity, yo!
and Brother Dave.
Good morrow.
After finishing up season one, Songs of the Damned, we are doing a run of bonus episodes titled Selected Cuts. And today we are covering Brother John's pick, Mors Principium Est's 2007 album, Liberation Equals Termination. Join us in the cleansing rain. As this is Brother John's selection, I'm going to turn the floor over to him so that he can talk a little bit about how he discovered this band and why he chose this album. Brother John, take us away.
Hey, no problem. We'll do. Well, we did mention Mors Principium Est a couple of times over the course of season one. And as far as like Melodeath bands go, this has always been one that I like and have come back to. Although until now, I primarily listened to this album and the one before it titled The Unborn. Which I like both of those quite a lot. And I had listened to their very first album, which it's Inhumanity is the name of that one, which I didn't really listen to that too many times, but listening back is like, oh man, that one's pretty good too. And I listened to the rest of their discography, if I could talk, and like they have pretty solid output, I would say. Like every album, I think, is consistently good. So, if you're looking for a new Melodeath band, this is a good one to check out. And for me, Liberation Equals Termination was my entry point to the band. I probably got this first in like 2008, so maybe like a year or so after it had come out. And I feel like they're not super well known, but they are super awesome. And when I first heard them, this album kind of hooked me in because it has sort of a lot of synthy, like not necessarily techno-y, but just like electronic sort of elements mixed in here and there on some different songs, which I thought gave it sort of a unique flair compared to other Melodeath bands. But they got a lot of really fast guitar solos, really fast drums, and just like the heavy synthy stuff mixed in. I don't know. This one always held kind of a special place in my heart just because I love it a lot and thought it was a little unique amongst other Melodeath bands. So, with that, did we want to talk about the year in metal? So this came out in 2007, and I prepared a couple of bands that had released some stuff in 2007 that I could shout out, but I don't know. Usually, Paul, you like to go over that kind of stuff.
I'm curious. Let's let you do it. And we'll see if any of the ones I picked out overlap.
Okay, well, and I was only looking for some of my faves, but 2007 has some that I like quite a bit. Between the Buried in Me, Colors, I believe we've mentioned that at least once or twice in season one as well. So we'll have to talk about that album, I think, at some point, because that one I think is top tier between the Buried in Me. But again, they've released a ton of stuff that I haven't really listened to. So who knows? Maybe they've even surpassed themselves more recently. Darkest Hour came out with Deliver Us, which I love that one. That is one that I'll go back to time and again for Darkest Hour. The Black Dahlia Murder came out with Nocturnal, another great one, and Dimmu Borgir in Sorti Diaboli. So four great albums from 2007 that could go toe to toe with Mors Principium Est, Liberation Equals Termination. Who knows who would win in a death match amongst those albums?
Well, no overlap with mine, but I was
Surprise, surprise.
well, I was trying to look at bands that maybe hewed a little closer to Mors Principium Est sound as contemporary. So I found Mnemic came out with Passenger. They're a little more groove oriented.
Did
Um,
we see Mnemic live, you and me, Brother Paul?
I saw them live with Soilwork, actually. I don't know if you and I ever saw them.
Who was
It,
the supporting or the other like maybe co-headliner when we saw The Haunted?
God, it was Dark Tranquility. It was it Mnemic? Had I already seen
I
them?
kind of feel like it was Mnemic.
Oh my God.
I
We'll have to look into that. Um,
I'm gonna have to Google this band and
all right.
see. I feel like their frontman had a very distinctive hairstyle or something.
Well, wouldn't surprise me. I mean, well, we saw them in 2007, so that's when this album came out. So it's possible they were touring in support of this. So do the research while I go on and list also Omnium Gatherum came out with Stuck Here on Snake's Way. Our friend Scarve came out with The Undercurrent. And we are very familiar with Scarve because a couple of the members from Soilwork were poached from that band. Um, it's sort of like the minor leagues. You start in Scarve, you get promoted to
They
Soilwork at
all
some point
graduated.
if you make the grade.
There's
Uh,
like two guys left in Scarf, and they're just
yeah.
sad now because they didn't make the cut.
No, they're trying though. John, I'm surprised you didn't mention these folks, as they are your favorite band in the whole wide world. Einsafarum Victory Songs.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
those guys are good.
and then
Metal.
finally Norther came out with their No Way Back EP. I listened to all these albums. None of them really struck me. But I'd give them all another shot. They weren't terrible. And of course, 2007 Soilwork came out with Sworn to a Great Divide, which we rated a 3, which was our lowest ranked album to date.
Well, I think I rated it 4.5,
Yeah,
but
I'm going aggregate here.
you rated it a 1.5 if I remember right. It
Yeah,
was
that's also the biggest gap we've
very
had between
low.
individual rankings. So,
Yeah, but that's par for the course for that album. Quite divisive.
well, with
Yeah, actually, I didn't notice that Norther had come out with something, or I probably would have called that out. They're pretty good. Also, are they? No, they're from Sweden, I think, not Finland, because Mors Principium Est is from Finland, and I feel like they kind of straddle the line stylistically between more mellow death and more like extreme power metal, a la Children of Bodom and Kalma, and Norther is a little in that vein as
mhm.
well.
Norther is
So.
Finnish
Oh, okay.
Ooh,
Well, I guess it makes sense. All these
from
more extreme
Espoo.
power metal leaning bands kind of have that, they're just crazy, those crazy Finns.
yeah. So with that, let's turn to the album itself. And Brother John, tell us who played on this.
Sure. Well, before I even get to that, I should say Mors Principium Est, the band name, it is Latin for Death is the Beginning. And they had formed in Finland in 1999. And like I had mentioned before, this is their third release after Inhumanity and The Unborn. And there's a bunch of guys on here who didn't really appear on much else of note, pretty much sticking to this band. But Jori Haukio was on guitars and programming, and he was the primary songwriter and lead guitarist. But he left the band like right as this album came out, and then was gone for like 14 years, and recently came back in 2021 after there was a little bit of a falling out with their newer guitar player, and they kind of kicked that guy out, Andy Gillion, and we talked
Just
about this on a prior
justice for
episode.
Andy.
Yeah, I know. Well, and I think the whole thing was that Andy put out like a side project, like his solo album, and that apparently caused some strife. But it's like, come on, guys, is there not room enough to do a solo project and also play in this band? And like I said before, I just listened to all of their albums and all the stuff he played on, and that guy can shred. So, I mean, he was definitely a solid replacement, but who knows? Maybe personality conflicts or something. But apparently now, Jori Hokayo is back. And so I'm kind of excited to see what they might come out with as their next album, and if it'll have more of this sort of synthy programmed electronic elements mixed in as well. Um, but other than, oh, and hold on, that guy. So I said they didn't really play on a lot of, like, these members haven't played on a lot of other stuff, but Jory, I just wanted to point out, uh, From 2006 to 2007, he was a studio musician playing cello for a band called Depressed Mode. And in 2012, he played cello for Scythe of Orion. So I have not heard either of those bands, but interesting that this guy also can play the cello. He's versatile. We got Billy Viljanen on vocals, Jarko Koko on guitars, Marco Tomila on drums, Timu Heinola on bass, and Juna Kukola on keyboards. And you know what? I have no idea if that's even close to the right pronunciation for Finnish names. So hopefully I didn't butcher it too bad. But I like what these guys are putting out. And I can also say that so the first three albums were released on Listenable Records, the French label, which was the same label that put out Soilwork's first two albums. And this particular one was recorded at Astia Studio in Finland and was mastered at Imperial Mastering in Concord, California. And just one final side note for those of you who like metal covers of pop songs, Mors Principium Est also has a cover of Livin' La Vida Loca, which is actually pretty legit. So that's just a single, I guess, that they put out, and it's on Spotify. So check that one out if you're interested. I added it to my playlist of metal covers of pop songs that I have.
Okay.
So with that, shall we dive into the track by track?
Well, there are 11 tracks on this album. It is just over 38 minutes long, and it kicks off with track number 1, Orsis. Activate. Take us away, Brother John.
All right. Well, in my opinion, this is a little bit of a needless opener, but I don't know if it was sort of a product of the time. I feel like a lot of albums that came out in the early 2000s had sort of a instrumental opening track, and maybe it's not even limited to the early 2000s, but it seemed to be extra popular back then. I don't know, for some reason it seems that way to me. But it's pretty short. Doesn't really do much, but I guess it does sort of foreshadow some of the electronic elements that are present on the album, which on this is the most prevalent that they are on any of their albums. And for this one, there aren't many lyrics, but I do want to open up our segment, Lyrical Tactics, Vocal Gymnastics. Lyrical Tactics, Vocal Gymnastics. Because we need to talk about this, brothers. This song, I don't know, it's like maybe only something like 30 to 50 seconds long.
It is 25 seconds long.
Oh,
yeah, so
25 seconds.
You are here trying to make it like it's this instrumental kind of. Oh, it is
No,
25 seconds of nothing, and then
Yeah, it's some synthy electronic weird sounds, and then a robotic voice says, "Activate." And that's it. That's the lyric. What do we think about this?
I feel like it's a great bit of foreshadowing for the rest of the album, which
I
has
think
robotic precision and seems to kind of be about the robot apocalypse.
it could be. We'll get into that, I think, a little bit later. Well, there's maybe various themes, but there's one that I want to talk about later about we'll dive into those lyrics in a little more depth. But this one, I don't know. I kind of like it. I wondered, did somebody record this and say activate, or did they find an actual computer program where they typed it in and it spoke it for them? It's hard to say, but it does definitely let you know, hey, it's time to fucking rock.
okay.
And with that, I think we can close this segment and move on to the second track, unless anyone else has anything more to say about these lyrics.
No. Let's move on to track number 2.
Paul's just not having it. I don't know. Given the choice, should we take it or leave it for this first song? I would take it. I would not leave it off. I'm glad that they put this on, even though it's like there's not much to it. I think it adds enough fun flair that I like that they put it on here.
It would feel weird to put it as like in the actual track of the next one, like to have 25 seconds and then say activate and then start the song. So it needs to be its own thing.
Right.
It does kind of seem like a relic of the time. I don't know. It's fine. It's
I mean,
whatever.
at the same time, I feel like the second track just launches into it, and that would be a real weird way to start an album.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Soil
it
Work with Bastard Chain just kind of launches right into that one, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, it can be
So
done,
it
and it
it
can be
can
done well,
work.
but
But
I
yeah,
feel like it works. It kind
I
of
I
sets the
agree.
tone. I was joking a little bit when I said that it was foreshadowing themes, but uh, I do think that it sets the tone and is fun.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I agree too that it's good they didn't have it on the other song. Otherwise, I'd be like, I don't want to listen to this extra 25 seconds of intro every time I want to listen to this song. If you want to go to that song, you want to dive right in, but it flows in seamlessly.
To track number two, The Oppressed Will Rise. And Brother John, continue since
All
this
right.
is your album and track number one's not really a track.
I know it's true. Well, so the oppressed will rise immediately, just like Dave said, it just comes in with blistering fast drums and guitar riffs. And then at about 20 seconds, there's some hard tom hits and the vocals come in. And it's like, can't stop this anymore. But they do a little production effect. So each syllable alternates. So it's like, can't stop this anymore. And it's like you're hearing it in your left and your right headphone as each syllable is said, which I think that adds something neat. If they did that more than probably just on this one little section, I'd be like, oh my God, this is driving me nuts. But to make it punchy and grab your attention, it's like, oh, I like what they're doing here.
Can't take this anymore. You're watching me. Well, what is it? Something you want, something else. You just.
So I thought that was cool. But yeah, not something that I would want them to do much, probably just the one time on the album. And they only do it this one time, as far as I'm aware. But yeah, the drumming on this one, nonstop ferocity. There's a solo, guitar solo at starting at about 1 minute 49 seconds that goes on for about 30 seconds. And that's like on this album, whenever they're launching into these guitar solos, they all tend to go pretty long. So these are the kind of solos I like to hear. And they're very melodic as opposed to being chaotically all over the place. You know, this a little bit different from some of the gripes we had talking about some of the solos last week. These are my solos, these kind of mellow death, extreme power metal type solos. Very awesome. This song's a banger, 10 out of 10. No complaints.
So I'm gonna
Dave?
jump in
Oh, Paul?
because everything you said about the intro part where the vocals rapidly pan between left and right and how you loved it, I fucking hated it.
Oh, well, like I said, I wouldn't want them to do it a bunch because that would get annoying fast. But just for that quick little, it's like what,
It's
four syllables? Can't stop
yeah,
this. Or like five,
yeah.
something like that.
It's not terrible when you're listening to it just like on speakers, but in the headphones, it is jarring and it is terrible. And
Oh,
I
I
was
liked it.
every time I was like, this is the worst.
Uh,
And so okay, I do not have a history with this band or this album. I think you were kind of pushing them in season one, and so I listened to not this one. I listened to some of their later stuff with Andy Gillion. So this for this episode, this is the first time I've heard this album, and my initial thought is that I don't love it. I don't like the vocalist. I don't like the way it doesn't grab me right away. It launches into it very furiously. I'm not loving it, but then the chorus comes on. And it's really catchy and melodic, and it's kind of stuck with me. And I really like that chorus, so I'm not out. So
yet.
there's yet. There's
Stay
elements I
tuned.
there's elements I don't like, and I'm like, oh man, why did John pick this? But then I'm like, okay, I see it. I feel it, and so I'm kind of here for it. It's not a terrible song. it's actually it's pretty decent. I like it. So that's where I'm at so far, brother Dave.
What do you think about the "can't stop this anymore" part?
Here's the crazy part. Did I never listen to this on headphones? Because I didn't even notice it.
Oh,
I wonder if I listened to it on speakers the entire this whole last week. Because yeah,
well, give
I
it a try and report back. Let us know what you think on the headphones.
yeah, I will do that because I love something that gives Brother Paul such a visceral response. So I'm just gonna have
Speaking
to.
of which, speaking of that, Diablo Swing Orchestra, I finally listened to them. What is it called? Pandora's Pinata, that
Hmm.
song
Jesus
that
Christ.
Paul had. Yep, and again, just the mention of the name of that album, giving Paul hives. But
So
I thought that was pretty good. So, maybe Dave, you and I share a kindred spirit when it comes to weird shit.
not
I'm
to get in the weeds, but I'm holding off on listening to them until we do them on this podcast now.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'll absolutely force you to listen to them here because we have to at this point. Um, but back to the task at hand. The oppressed will rise. Uh, it so Brother John, you're saying kind of the extreme power metal. I'm hearing more like tech death influences, kind of in a necrophagist vein, maybe, which
Hmm.
is
Yeah,
guitar
they're all
wise. I mean,
maybe kind of adjacent, I guess.
yeah, I said it was like tech death and metalcore infused. Uh, like it's still mellow death, probably. I don't know. But they're kind of like a hodgepodge of extreme metal genres,
Hmm.
which I'm not against. This song in particular, I feel like there's not a whole lot that's really stand out about it. It's one of the more generic songs on this album. That said, the solos, great. They're super shreddy, super melodic, and very long. And I also like some of the stuff they're doing with timing around the 42-second mark. They kind of, it's off kilter. It still stays in beat. They're not like adding, they're not going to weird time signatures or anything, but they're doing cool syncopation. And the main standout to me here is they are so tight as a band. Like they are really good musicians. Like even if the song itself isn't grabbing me, like they're incredible. Just from a technical standpoint. And I'm like Brother Paul, where I have basically zero prior interaction with this band. So I'm excited to see where it goes. Um, I feel like this one was north of positive or north of average. So it was good, but I hope they can be better for the rest
what?
of the album.
Well, that takes us to track number 3, The Animal Within. And brother John, what the fuck is this intro?
Oh, dude, this starts off sounding like we are entering a dark rave. It's makes me think of like the blood rave scene from the movie Blade. I really like the fancy synthy parts in this one. And I will point out too, in 2022, they released sort of a re-recorded compilation album called Liberate the Unborn in Humanity, where they chose some different songs off of each of their first 3 albums and re-recorded them. And they re-recorded this one, and it doesn't have any of this dancey synthy stuff, and it just doesn't slap the same. I was like, not worth it. Give me the original. I mean, that is just a prime example of one of the things that I really like on this album that makes it unique in my mind and kind of grabs me. So I'm into that kind of stuff.
Huh.
So the first time I heard this, it came on, and then I went to check if my ad blocker had broken because I was like, "What is this?" But then it was the album, and then at 15 seconds, we go from just that like dancey techno intro to just like the slappinest metal plus techno that you've ever heard. This I loved it. This song fucks. And
Hell yeah.
uh yeah, the techno influence, whether we want to call it techno or just like digital stuff going on, whatever you're calling it, it's so good.
True digital.
And got a real sneaky pinch harmonic at 36 seconds. Um, then the synths do some cool like doubling stuff with the riff at 44 seconds. And again, another just amazing solo at just shortly after 2 minutes. There's very little bad that you could say about this song.
Yeah, and I mean, talking about the title, The Animal Within, I tend to think that the animal within that they're talking about is probably your inner rave animal yearning to be free, just to bathe under sprinklers of blood, no doubt. Um, so what's wrong with that? But I wanted to say too, there's, oh, what is it? It's like there's the very intro, and then in the choruses, they have this sort of backing vocals of a lady singing, "Ah," or something like that, like Oz, and it's just in there, but it had some fun layers of vocals that I appreciated. And
Hmm.
also, I can't think what it even sounds like offhand, but at 44 seconds, there's a pretty cool musical bridge that sounded pretty rad. And they repeat that a couple times in the song, but that part I thought also slapped, in addition to that awesome and insane guitar solo that Dave called out. So overall, this is a banger. Another one. 2 for 2 on the real songs.
Paul's got shifty eyes. He's really
Paul-
gonna bring down the mood here.
Oh, Paul does not like this album, but let's hear it, Paul. What you got?
I fucking hated that part at 45 seconds to 1 minute. It like with the laser beam sound that's going on in there.
Laser beam song.
That's what it sounds like, a laser beam when you're talking
we-
about like, oh, it's got the cool programming and synths in there. I'm like, it's a fucking pew, 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 laser beam hit that's happening.
Yeah, I cannot recall what it even sounds like. You got to drop it in so
Oh,
the audience
that's all I'm gonna
will
drop
know.
in.
Okay, perfect. Just
Yeah,
do
you-
it like four times like it is in the song.
I remember that the synth is doubling the guitars. It's doing like a dun 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 boo-doo-doo-doo-doo thing, right? That's that part.
That I'm just going to drop that in at all points
Yeah.
now. No, I mean, this is a song that seems like it is something tailor-made that I should love because I love electro bleep blop. Um, God, I don't like the intro. I think that it's very jarring that they go from the second track into like this hard techno bit, and then that electro gets pretty much dropped for the rest of the album. I mean, spoiler alert. They get like this one dance track on there, and then that's it. So
Oh, I thought it comes back at least a little bit more.
I
me,
think it
I mean,
comes
they
back twice, but like for how prominent it is on this song,
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is
I
maybe
think
the
they
best
should have
song
leaned
just
into it.
because of how good it is.
so I feel like maybe it just doesn't fit. I that they did too much with this one or just not enough with the other ones. So it feels weird and jarring. I really don't like that musical bit that you guys seem to love. That said, I do really like the solo. Specifically, I like the chugs that are going on underneath it. So I'm like, okay, another song that I don't love, but there are elements of it that are really good. I think what Brother Dave said is true. Like these guys are good musicians. Um, this song is not what I'm looking for, but it's well put together, I guess, or at least certain elements of it are. So far, I've really liked their solos.
And
But-
I think one thing that helps this album is the production quality is pretty decent. Like
Yeah.
the mix is good, everything sounds punchy. It's not marred by some of the production issues we've heard on some of the other albums we've talked about. Although this is 2007, so I feel like generally speaking,
Yeah,
the stuff that we were more have complained about was more like in the late 90s.
right.
So
Mhm.
everyone's getting their shit together when it comes to producing metal
Finally,
albums.
it's Pro Tools. Um, so let's move on to track number 4, Finality. Brother Dave.
This song slaps, I think. It's a little more of the same. Well, maybe we can't say that at this point because we've just had two very different songs. It's more of the same kind of metalcore tech death stuff, which isn't necessarily my jam, but again, they do it so well that I don't hate it. It's absolutely something I will listen to if it comes on. And then at 30 seconds, there's this section between verses that's just like super pummeling. They're really good at writing aggressive music. I have no idea what they're singing about. Vocals, I don't even really remember the vocals at all on this album for the most part. But yeah, they've got just such aggressive riffage that I love. We've got another good solo, and this one stood out to me because at kind of the first half of it feels very amorphous to me. It's more aggressive than Amorphous gets, but I wonder if there's like an innate Finnishness that they are infusing into some of their kind of melodic phrasing because it comes up again later with another Finnish band that I'm like, huh, that sounds similar. But I don't really know anything about Finnish music, so I can't say if that's actually true or not. Um,
I'm really curious if you're thinking of the same Finnish band I am, that comes up later.
we'll
Because
see.
there's a comparison I'm gonna make, and I don't think I'll make it lightly. Um, so I'll just jump in since I'm already talking. Uh, this song to me feels really repetitive, and it ends, as I recall, very abruptly. It does have a decent or like good solo in there, but my note says that the drumming is subpar, and I think that just means he's slapping rat-a-tat the snare, but it could just be I didn't like the drumming on this one. I don't really recall it that well. It is a short song that feels long to me, because it's less than 3.5 minutes, but it dragged. It felt long. And those were my
Uh,
thoughts.
I
Brother
I
John.
disagree with that. At least it didn't feel that way to me. Like this sweet solo that we're talking about starts at a minute 15 and goes for a full 45 seconds. So like when a solid 25% of the song that you're playing has an awesome guitar solo or is just an awesome guitar solo and the rest of it it's just like a blistering riff fest layered with awesome vocals and unrelenting drums, you know you've created a real banger of a song. So I appreciated this one. I thought it was great. Loved it.
Okay. Well, let's move on to track number 5, Cleansing Rain. And I'm going to start with this one to say that I don't like the guitars on this. The single note riffing on the verses, and actually even the actual guitar tone on this one, just not doing it for me.
Why is it when the sky turns black? The snow starts to fry, and the rain starts to fall. It feels like a burning acid. The tears run down my cheek. The asshole's on his wings. Wanna know what is happening?
And I think so. I was listening to it right before we came and recorded, and my one thought was, So I got two metaphors for this one. One, it kind of sounds like somebody playing Guitar Hero, just like hitting kind of the single notes.
Oh, I think I know the part you're saying, and I
Yeah.
like that part.
Or
But
it also just kind of sounds like you're in like high school and your friend who plays guitar is like, "Here, let me show you this really cool thing I can do." And he just like starts doing it and he's looking at you like it's the coolest thing and you're like, "Buddy, what the fuck is that?" So this one's not for me. That said, the solo's not terrible. Another good solo, as I recall. So, Brother John, what are your
Well,
thoughts?
I think you're going to completely disagree with what I had in my notes, what I wanted to say, which is I want to call it our segment Sick Riffs and Tasty Licks.
I can also play some pretty hot licks too.
Or at least this is a sick riff and a tasty lick. The chorus part where the lyrics are the rain will wash away my sins, and the instrumentation behind that is just a sick riff, in my opinion. And every time they do this part, it's sweet. And there's a little guitar intro and then blast beats over the chorus vocals. And I feel like that's the part where they might be doing that, or maybe it's a little bit after that where they're doing the guitar that you were just complaining about. But I really like that part. Whenever they're singing those lyrics, it just really gets my juices flowing, as they say. Also, the way this one starts off, it's like sort of like badass machine gun snare drums and guitar riffs that are kind of synced up, which I thought was pretty cool. And then later at a minute 13, there's this awesome pummeling part, and it has like sort of blast beady drums over the lyrics, and he's like, "These tears falling, blinding, taunting," and so on and so forth. I thought that part was pretty fucking sick too. And then, like you already said, that extended solo, which goes for like almost 40 seconds, just it slaps. So all the component parts of this song fucking slap, pummel the shit out of your ears in a good way, and it just puts a smile on my face. Dave?
I think I'm somewhere in between you boys on this one.
Solomon.
Yeah.
The king arises with his sword to slice us in half.
John mentioned a couple of things that I loved about this song, which was right in the beginning, the machine gun chugs, loved them. 113, we got these great blast beats, and a cool thing about that part is that they switched from 4/4 into 3/4, and so I think that section you don't really notice that it's switched, but subconsciously something's different and it makes you pay attention to it a little more. I think it's one of those really cool time signature changes that works really well. The main riff, though, I thought it was a little bit boring, but I did love the crazy drumming that like shows up at the end of the riff because they, have the main riff and then they have kind of like the variable ending that they tack onto it with just crazy drums. I am going to agree with Brother Paul, though, to a certain extent, that their way of writing a riff it's been kind of the same on every song. That it's like it's like a metalcore style to me, where you're kind of hitting higher up notes and then between them you're chugging on low notes, right? They're always doing like kind of I could show you on guitar, but explaining it in words is hard. But it kind of there's not enough variety in their riff writing. So even when the riffs are tight and they're individually well done, they start to kind of blur together for me. So I'm hoping that they'll change it up a little bit more than they have. Also, I do have written here just the reference chocolate rain because cleansing rain. I don't know. Next song.
This is so dumb. And I hope you don't make me regret this, but we are on track number 6 now, Forgotten, which is another instrumental, and I'm gonna kick it over to you, Brother Dave, so redeem yourself from that last dumb comment.
uh, Forgotten. Um, the notes that they're playing are fine, but there is something about the mix here that I absolutely hate. I don't know if it's the upload. Like all the other mixes have sounded good, but there's something jangly about the cymbals and you're getting like pick scrapes or something into the big chords that they're doing. That's getting these high frequencies or something that I do not like listening to. There's like I have a visceral reaction to not the music, but to how it's recorded. So I do not like this song.
So I'm going to jump in. And I agree with you. The mix on this one is weird. I recall, yeah, it's on the cymbals especially. However, I like this one. I think it's a good kind of just classic melodeath instrumental, and it reminds me of some of the stuff from Rapture's final album, Silent Stage. So that is the Finnish band I'm thinking of.
That is
And
not
I
the
don't,
one I'm thinking of.
huh?
Oh.
That's not the one I'm thinking of.
Interesting. But yeah, listening to this, God, the mix is terrible, which sucks because I'm like, I like this song, and I like that it reminds me of Rapture, who, is just one of my favorite bands. So yeah, this is kind of the first one where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in, but get the mix right, Brother John.
Yeah, well, I guess I didn't really notice anything weird about the mix, so I'll have to take another listen and see if I can pick that out. But I don't know that we really said, but this one is slow, compared to all the other blistering fast songs they've had to this point. So they're kind of slowing it down, letting us catch our breath with this little instrumental interlude. But I thought it showcased some cool guitar work, and I had no complaints. I liked what they were doing.
Okay.
Yeah, giving us a moment to catch our breaths, I think is important because everything is blistering so far. And so just to get a little push
Little
and
variety,
pull.
like you were just
Yeah.
complaining about on the last song, or maybe not complaining, but just noting that you'd like a little more variety. Then they gave it to you, like manna from heaven.
Exactly.
It's good for them to veer away from metalcore tech death into doom death territory a little bit. So really slowing it down.
But not for too long, because they don't want to put anyone to sleep. And then they come back with the next one.
Track number 7, Sinner's Defeat, Brother John.
Yeah, well, it starts with a big hit, and then it has the single guitar laying down a blazing riff, interspersed with some drum hits to accent the musical phrases they're doing and make it kind of punchy. So they're making it clear this album has no real intention of slowing down after that little mid-album break we just had with Forgotten, the last track. So they're back. And at a minute 25, there's just this really cool riff under the chorus, or maybe it's a bridge. I guess I wasn't sure. Sometimes they kind of have, I don't know, I feel like they have a couple songs like this where it's like, is this the chorus? Is this just a bridge or what? Because they kind of repeat the same sections, but they're different. But anyways, but the the part where it's like, no darkness for us at all. We pray for eternal night. But the guitars in that part is a little more subtle in the mix, so it doesn't hit you right in the face. At that part, I feel like the vocals are kind of the focus, but that riff just layers it in with some good zazz that I liked. Oh, and then at a minute 54, it goes into a piano heavy breakdown section, which I really liked that. And it was more just like clean piano. It wasn't like real heavy synths like we had on that other song, but there were some other synthy electronic elements in here. So I think it kind of starts out with the clean piano, then it layers in the sort of synthy stuff. And so, like I said before, they do bring the synthy elements back, but they're just not as pronounced and in your face as in that earlier song. So again, we get an extended solo, which slaps real hard. And I just love everything they're doing on this one. So another great song by our boys in Mors Principium Est. Dave?
I largely agree with you. I would call this one a flawed banger. Starts out pummeling the drums. I like how the guitar kind of does its thing on its own, and then the drums just come in and go wild at the end of the riff, and then back to the guitar. They trade off a little bit like that. I also really like the techno synth piano thing. I really like a nice clean piano sound, and they do it really well here. We've got a nice build up at 222, some nice just big chonky chugs, and then the solo I felt was a little bit different than what we'd seen so far. It felt a little bigger, a little more soaring. So we got a little variety in the solo writing. I think my gripe with this one is it felt maybe a little bit overlong, and that's sort of been on the at the edge of my mind for several of these tracks so far. I think what's happening is their songs don't actually have that many riffs. They've got 3, maybe 4 riffs per song. They're all good riffs, but they're all so fast that even at like a 3.5 minute song or a 4 minute song, which isn't that long, they've played all the riffs a bunch of times by the end of it. And so it starts to be like, did we need to play this 2 more times at the end, or could we have, knocked off 15 seconds early and called it a day? But overall, the song still one of, I think, probably the second favorite song on this album after The Animal Within.
I'm going to agree with both of you boys. This is a really good song. I think it is, it's one of the standouts on this album. I like it. Even with the vocals, which I'm not loving Villy's vocals so far. But yeah, musically, I like this one. I think, as I recall, maybe it does feel like it just kind of drags or is a little long. But it's got that great piano interlude with the synths at the 2 minute mark. It's great. I like this one. So look at me. I'm being a little positive here.
You can smile.
I can. I have a heart. So let's move on to track number 8. The Distance Between. And this is a song that I want to like. And there are individual moments that are good. But I think overall it just lacks something that brings it all together. There's something missing in the cohesion of this song. And it's at this point when I realized why I don't like Villy's voice. It sounds very try-hard. It sounds like he's putting on an affectation, and it sounds unnatural and forced in like an amateurish way, especially when he does the low guttural vocals. So kind of all throughout, I've just been
Oh.
like, what is going on with his voice? I don't like it. I don't like it.
Feel like there are little elements of like a hardcore vocalist. Like it's sort of that strained shout almost at times.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I could see that. I overall I do like his vocals and but they yeah, I don't know, they get a little samey after a while. But on this song actually, you're talking about the low guttural. Are you saying it? So I had a note on that at 3 minutes 30 seconds. He drops some real deep growling vocals, like way more deep than anything else he does on the album, and I thought that was pretty cool. Um, I'm not sure what he's saying at that part, but I thought that part was actually pretty neat.
That part was one of the only vocal parts that stood out to me on this album. I think my complaint not is not that it feels try hard or something, is that it doesn't like I can't even think of what is going on vocally when I think back on these songs.
Yeah, it's
It's
not
there's like
the
no
vocals are not
vocal
very
hooks.
melodic. Yeah, and
No,
it's not really catchy. Like Soilwork has so much catchy vocal stuff going on,
right. And
but
Soilwork
like
has catchy
these,
cleans and growls.
yeah, there's no real
And
clean
this
vocals on
nothing.
here. So that was yeah, maybe the biggest detracting point for this band in my mind was just there's not so much stuff that really sticks in your head, or like the stuff that does stick in your head, it'll be like a cool musical moment, but nothing you really sing along to
Hmm.
on this or any of the other albums I was listening to of theirs. So, what they're doing musically, it's pretty cool. And I don't dislike the sound of the vocals, but it doesn't like hook you, I guess.
Hmm. But musically, also, this song doesn't do it for me. I think this is one of the weaker tracks.
Yeah.
It's slower, so it doesn't even have that really fast aggression that they do really well. Uh, we got a movie audio clip in here, I think, and it's just like, what is this?
You will be back. I promise you. Just enjoy the time up there. Another time has come for me.
There is an orchestral backing section at like 152 that I liked, but even the solo then it's kind of exploratory and just like I don't know what's going on here. And then it's also over 4 minutes long, and I'm just ready for it to be done.
Yeah. I I agree with that.
I think, yeah, yeah, I forgot this is the one that has like the movie clip. Um, and I think that maybe goes back to what I was saying about their, techno track, The Animal Within is like they will throw in these elements and then just not really revisit them or do anything with them. So it feels weird and jarring. And it's like, how did this how did this help the album or this song? Um, so I mean, I listen to a lot of industrial music, which is, 90% of the vocals are just old movie quotes from there and clips, which I love, but this is like, what is this doing here? I don't know. Oh, let's move on to track number 9. It is done. And brother Dave, start us off.
We back after one that
Yep.
I wasn't too thrilled on. It is done. Back to blistering, back to just shredding my face off in a way that I love. Uh, Musically, what stands out to me here, I think they do struggle to make their songs distinct because of like not having strong vocals, which is often something that you can like latch onto. And also, while the guitars are good, like I said before, they kind of use sort of the same method of building the riffs each time. So it's not like the riffs are necessarily as memorable either. But at 31 seconds, they do a memorable thing in that they stop their blistering shredding and just do two very sparse hits to end their riff. And so they mix it up by cutting out all of their extra fiddling that they are basically always doing. But then, I mean, we get another just searing solo, and it good.
Yeah.
That's what I
So,
got.
Well, can I talk about the vocals on this one a little
yes,
bit? Or
yes.
Paula, looked like you had something you wanted to say.
Well, I wanted to go off of what Brother Dave said and how they struggle to kind of differentiate their songs and that they all kind of can sound similar because I've listened to this album a whole bunch. I've listened to it 11 plus times, and I never know what to say about this song in particular. It is as if I have a mental block that prevents me from remembering anything about this song. I could not tell you one. No, I do not know what this song is. And
Oh, I thought
at various points, I was like, I got nothing in my notes on this song. Let me put it on and just listen to this one, and I'll write something. And nothing comes. So
I've definitely had that from time to time on different songs that we've discussed here on the pod. But this one I thought actually kind of seemed a little different from some of the other ones. And here's why. And it's really the vocals. So at 21 seconds, the vocals come in initially. And it has kind of like we said before, that sort of standard sounding vocal part or like style, where it's like strained. And the lyrics here are, can you feel what is happening? The turmoil is building. I will make you my offering as the first sacrifice. But then at 44 seconds, the vocals change. So I don't know if he's just doing a different affectation or if it's a different vocalist singing this part, but it sounds more evil and distorted, sort of a la Dimmu Borgir on some of their background vocal stuff. Basically, it sounds kind of like an evil goblin. And the vocals here are like, the scum of the earth starts to fade. The mankind is too late. We have won. You are gone. And now you will pay the price. And so I just want to open up our section or our segment, Lyrical Tactics, Vocal Gymnastics,
Lyrical tactic, vocal gymnastics.
and dive in to what this song is about. Because reading these lyrics, I guess to me, it kind of sounds almost like a classic rap battle, but, you know, metal style between humans and orcs or goblins, basically saying how they're going to destroy each other. And that was the impression that I got. But did you guys take a look at this or did you have any thoughts?
I
I
did.
thought
You go. You go.
I referenced this kind of at the beginning. I felt like this was about the rise of machines and the fall of humanity. I kind of got that vibe throughout this entire album. So, I mean, you literally said all of the lyrics that are on this song right
Yeah, I
there.
mean, it's very short, and they basically do that, and then they repeat it, and they toss a cool guitar solo in. So there's not a ton to the song, you know, as far as
So
its
I'm just
breadth. It's
I'm
gets
having
in,
to use
does
my
its thing.
context clues
Yeah.
to figure out what this is about. It could be orcs. I love me some orcs.
Well,
But
probably more
I'm gonna go with
goblins based on
machines.
the. I'm gonna say goblins based on the sound of the
The
vocals in
black
that part.
metal-esque vocals.
Yep, they sound a little more goblin-y than orcish, in my opinion.
This is true.
IMHO, in my humble opinion.
But I would love to hear what Paul has to say.
So is this a concept album about the destruction of the human race? I mean, it starts with a machine. The whole album starts with a machine saying activate. And like reading this, why does he say the mankind? Is that another just
I think that's a Finnishism.
okay?
It could be.
Fine, I won't linger there. It just stands
Dozen of
out.
mankind for a mankind.
Uh, I mean, yeah, it seems to be about the annihilation of humanity, and like looking at the lyrics for the next song, that seems to be carrying on, and now I kind of want to read the lyrics for the entire album, and I kind of wish that they had a vocalist who, could sing or make the words sound good so that I would be interested in what he was saying at the time instead of having to go back and do an essay, and like, well, let me read the lyrics now. So, yeah, I mean, I'm always down for a good concept album about goblins and or their robots coming to destroy humanity. That would be awesome.
And that might be what we have here. So I
Who
will just
knows?
say that it is awesome.
Okay. Any last thoughts on this one?
I don't think so.
So we are now moving on to the
Oh,
penultimate.
wait. Sorry. I do have one last comment. This one also ends on some real big orchestral kind of hits. No fade out required.
Well, let us move on to the penultimate track, number 10, Terminal Liberation. And boy, what a super goofy chorus that I do not care for.
Wait,
I think I
how does this
liked
chorus
it.
go?
Liberate,
Oh, yeah.
Annihilate.
It's all the same to me. Something
I
like
think I liked it just because it was the only chorus on the entire album that I remember.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
the only lyrics I remember at all. Not even just chorus. That said, it's overall I recall this one being pretty repetitive again. More of that rat tat 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 drumming, and then our favorite production technique, a nice fade out.
After definitively not needing it on the last song,
Yeah.
they faded out. I counted for 34 seconds at
It's
the
a
end.
big one.
There's 4 full repeats of liberate, terminate, annihilate. It's all the same to me. 4 full times, and then on the 5th one, you in the middle of it, you can't hear it anymore, and it's fully faded out. So
Yeah.
they
And
really.
it's an extra level when you're fading out with vocals going on.
I know. It's another example of just like, did it need to fade out when they were singing still? But it always makes us laugh.
So it was worth it. Also, there were some techno synths in here just before 2 minutes. They did show up 3 times on this album, which is a strange amount of times.
Yeah. Well, it's not a strange amount of times. Paul, you were saying they keep doing things and don't come back, but they do come back. They have it a few times. It's just like the extra flair. And that, like I said, is one of the reasons why I like this album. It just stands out as something different from a crowd of other, mellow death albums. It's their shtick, at least on this album.
All right. Are we moving on to the final track, number 11, Lost Beyond Retrieval? Another instrumental, Brother John.
Yeah, so this is a full-length instrumental, not just like a tiny little interlude or like a tack on the end one. And it's another slower jam, but the guitars are doing some cool stuff again, so I can't complain too much. And it does utilize some of the same guitar lines from, what is it, Forgotten, I think is the name of it. Yeah, track 6, Forgotten. They bring back some of those same guitar lines for this one. And so, yeah, I don't know. It didn't melt my face off or anything. It's slower, but what they're doing, I enjoyed. So it was a fine way to end the album. And the whole album is only 38 minutes. So although the instrumentals feel like a bit of filler to make it a full length, they're not bad. And without those, it would only be like less than 33 minutes, I want to say. Or no, without this song, it would be less than 33. Without the other instrumentals, it'd be only about 30 minutes. So then we're talking like maybe EP territory. So I don't know. Maybe they just added these instrumentals to fill out the total length of the album. Hard to say, but I don't dislike them.
I like this one. Um, and I think maybe it's telling that I liked all the instrumentals on this album because it's when Billy's not singing.
Classic Steel Bath Suicide situation
Yeah,
where the
it's
two
like
instrumentals without the vocals were our favorite ones.
yeah, and they're kind of slower paced, which I'm like, okay, cool, we're entering Doom Death territory almost, maybe. Um, just a kind of slower instrumental. It allows me to, focus on the music, and they're good musicians, but I think some of that maybe is lost because I'm just like listening to this guy sing who I do not care for. But yeah, I like this one. I think it's a fine instrumental. Brother Dave.
I also like this one. I went into it not expecting an instrumental. And so I was listening and I was like, man, this is a long intro that they've got on this song. And then around 135, I wised up and I was like, oh, well, it's just an outro.
Again, it's just the Monty Python guy running towards the castle. You waiting for the vocalist.
Yeah, I think they transitioned to a different riff, and I was like, okay, guys, you can't keep leading me on like this. I'm onto your games. But it's a good outro. It goes kind of the drifting, repetitive route instead of having jamming lots of new stuff in there. But it's not in a bad way. I like the solo that they put over it, and this is the one that reminds me of another Finnish band's outro, which is Mourn, the outro on Sentenced's album Frozen.
Oh,
Got kind of
I
that
don't
same.
I don't think I've ever heard that one actually.
It's a
Frozen.
good one.
I
Wait, you've never heard that album?
I don't think so. I've mainly the Cold White Light and the Funeral album when it came to Sentenced. I don't know if I even have
Frozen's a
their
good one.
prior
It's
stuff.
worth a
Yeah.
listen. Um, I mean, maybe we got to do some Sentenced
oh,
or
we're gonna have to. But you
I
know
mean,
what?
eventually.
I hear it. When you said it, I was like, okay, yeah, that clicks. Yep, agree.
Um, and I really like that outro. I think this is a decent outro. It's a little unexpected being what this album was, but it's good. It's good to stand on its own, and it's decent as an outro too. I like it.
And with that, let's kick it over to our resident rankings expert, Brother John.
All right. Well, our final segment is Bop or Flop, where we decide, does the album slap or is it crap? We have honed our patented 6-tier ranking system, going from 6 all the way down to 1. We got the bops, a perfect 6, unassailable, this is metal incarnate, a 5, like to stand on that thing, a banger that we could easily listen to again and again, and a 4, or that's doable, a very solid album worth checking out. And of course, we've got the flops, a 3, it lacks zazz. A 2 is just straight crap, and a 1 belongs in a garbage can. It's a disappointment to its father and to the listener. And since this was my choice, I will kick it off and go first and just say, I love this one. It's got some major bops that pummel really hard. Like, it's got 11 tracks, the intro barely counts, and the short instrumental in the middle is fine, but hardly counts as a song. So, I mean, of the 9 actual songs, I'd say I love 7 of them, and the other 2 are pretty good, but maybe not amazing. But, this album has a ton of awesome guitar solos, has some, I think, cool synths. Maybe Paul disagrees. And, some fun electronic elements mixed in. And overall, I think it just sounds good. It's not perfect. The vocals I thought are fine. They don't offend me, but they didn't really like captivate me or really, there weren't a lot of hooks, I guess, that uh, stuck in my head after the fact. But it's great. I love it a lot. I feel like it's somewhat unique in Melodeath, just with those synthy electronic elements. And this is one that I do come back to time and again. And so I'm going to say I'd like to really stand on that thing. And I'm going to give this a 5.5.
Nice. Um, my thoughts on this, I mean, it's incredible musicianship throughout, and I think the drumming in particular is really stand out. Vocally though, it's competent. I didn't have a visceral reaction. Like the vocals, they do, it's kind of impressive how they do nothing for me, positive or negative. Uh, but yeah, the 30 minutes of songs that they've got is it's blistering the whole way through, basically. Focused basically without the second half slump. I think there's just like a couple of songs that aren't quite so great, but um generally like good songwriting, but it fails to stand out on an individual song basis, like I was talking about. Kind of the energy, texture, tone, whatever you want to call it, is kind of similar throughout, with the exception of those synthy parts. And I found myself wanting the techno in every song. I was like, I think that would take this up to something really extraordinary because particularly The Animal Within and what Sinner's Defeat, they were great songs. And it was those elements that elevated them. So is this exactly for me as it is? Not really. Uh, is it good? Yes, absolutely. I wouldn't be sad if this album comes on just due to the algorithm. And I am excited to dig into their discography and see if there's something else they've put out that is more what I'm looking for. But I am sad to hear Brother John say that this is their most techno album because I was really hoping to find something that was even more of that. But we'll see. I'm definitely going to listen to some of their other stuff. As it stands right now, that's very doable. I'm going to give this one a 4.5.
I want to like this album, but it just doesn't quite get there for me. Something's not clicking. I do not like Billy's vocal stylings. The song composition doesn't wow me. Like the musicianship, they write good parts, but I don't think that the songs themselves really come together. And I think that is kind of a lot of it, it's hard to differentiate between songs. I find myself not remembering a lot of this album, despite having listened to it moments before starting this podcast. Overall, it's unmemorable, but it's competent. And I think it just lacks zazz. I will say, as an addendum, I am glad that Brother John introduced me to Mors Principium Est because I really like when they get Andy Gillion as their guitarist and main songwriter, starting on the next album, because I think that's what jumps them up to the next level of being a good mellow death band. I think starting with his era, I enjoy those albums a lot more. Um, so I'm not sad I listened to this one, but it's not one I'm gonna revisit. Well, soil mates, that's all for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode where we finish our selected cuts run of episodes with a choice selection from Brother Dave. Darkane's 2005 Layers of Lies. Until then, stay metal, my brothers.
Hell yeah,
Hell
brother.
yeah, brother.